Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's Data Protection Day 2020. Now I hope you've got some fantastic plans to celebrate the day. I'm going to Facebook in London to give a talk about the future of data protection, and I'm going to be setting out some key ideas as to how we might be able to take the topic forward, and I'm going to summarise them here today. There are 5 key ideas that I'd like to share with you. So number 1, data processing should be designed to serve mankind. Number 2, we should be looking for more common ground between us. Number 3, data processing should be a matter of core business purpose. Number 4, we should be going on the journey to code. And number 5, perhaps there's a case for a new regulatory enforcement strategy. Of course, one of the key goals of data protection is achieving an appropriate respect for privacy rights, but there's much more to data protection than simply achieving privacy protections. In fact, the key goal as I see it is that data processing should be designed to serve mankind. And this idea is actually baked into the GDPR right at the very beginning. Now, if we begin with the idea that data processing should be designed to serve mankind, rather than beginning with the idea that processing should be restricted in order to achieve privacy protections, then we can start to find or search for some of the big gains for society, for people generally, for the economy in data processing. Now, of course, I'm not arguing an anything goes culture. We need to ensure that appropriate levels of protection for privacy are achieved. But I don't know about you, my perspective is that sometimes opinions in the data protection field are highly polarised, and sometimes we're loaded just to the argument, privacy first, privacy first, privacy first. So if we keep in mind the idea that data processing can have huge benefits for mankind, that might be a mindset that encourages to look for the common ground between all the stakeholders in this field. And if we can get onto the common ground, then potentially we can spend more time together addressing the truly challenging questions of data protection, rather than ancillary matters that potentially are taking up too much time in the debate. You know, the current debate on facial recognition is one where we seem to be lacking some common ground. It seems to be one where there is potential for us to achieve the many gains that facial recognition offers us, but at the same time ensuring that we achieve appropriate respect for other issues, including an appropriate respect for privacy rights. My personal point of view is that we shouldn't be looking for reasons to ban facial recognition technologies. We should be looking for ways to make them better, so that questions such as bias in code, false positives, can be removed from these technologies, and we should be looking for ways that they can be rolled out in an appropriate manner, in a proportionate manner, in order to achieve the gains that they offer. But the common ground isn't a place where one side to the argument has to back down. It's not a place where we should be shouting down competing points of view or traducing them. The common ground is a place of active listening with an open mind that is aiming at getting better outcomes for mankind. We're only going to get on the common ground to ensure that processing serves mankind if we're clear on the role that data processing has within our business. And that means we've got to be clear on the purpose of our business and data processing's function within that purpose. Now let's think about the police and continuing with the example of facial recognition. The police in a democratic society exist and operate only with the consent, the permission, the support, the tolerance of the citizen. And that's the opposite of a police state. So of course, the business purpose of the police extends further than pure law enforcement through to ensuring that in the performance of the law enforcement duties, all of the wider concerns of society are addressed, which include privacy protections. Therefore, if the police are having regard to their business purpose and the role that processing has within it, then automated facial recognition would not just be rolled out en masse without due regard for questions of proportionality and without any empathy for how we feel about the subject. There has to be, in the policing example, proportionality so that the business purpose of policing is served in a democratic society. Now, if we think about the idea of the business as a commercial enterprise, of course, the business has to serve the interests of its shareholders and investors. But business purpose is about much more than the immediate question of profit. It's also about the question of sustainability of the business over time into the future. And therefore, if a business is thinking about its purpose and the role that data processing has within it, then it would be asking itself questions about how do we maintain the trust and confidence of our customers, of our consumers, and our workers. As well as being sighted on the future, on the question of maintaining trust and confidence over time, on achieving the gains over time, an appropriate position on data protection requires us to have historical empathy. We also need to look backwards and ask ourselves, why does data protection exist as a concept? Now, the answer is that back in the day, almost 50 years ago, concepts of data protection were developed because of fears that new technologies, fueled by personal information, would lead through data processing to the development of a surveillance and propaganda society. So we bring that right up to date, carry on again with the idea of AFR, and of course, we see the reality of that concern. AFR is a surveillance technique. And if we think about the question of propaganda, yes, there have been really challenging questions about how micro-profiling of voters can influence elections. But we also have, in the meat and drink of ordinary business activity, propaganda in the sense of ad tech, how we are profiled in order to deliver targeted advertisements that will nudge us along a particular path of behaviour. So at the very heart of data protection is this central point that if we are going to deliver on our business purpose, if we are going to serve mankind, if we're going to get onto the common ground, then we have to be looking at how technology and data themselves perform. We can't just achieve data protection through governance structures, through policies and procedures. We have to achieve it within technology and data themselves. And to do that, organisations, users of personal data, the performance of data processing has to be done along the journey to code. Now, the journey to code is an idea that we will spend more of our time, invest more of our effort, that we will put more focus on how do we put data protection outcomes in the technology and data themselves. How will we do it? And the journey to code has actually commenced. I mean, the fact we have the privacy tech community is a fantastic development. It shows that people are focused on solving data protection challenges in technology and data. We can also see that the markets are adjusting themselves to some solutions about cookies and ad tech behaviours. And that is illustrative of the point I'm trying to make. In 2020, we will be going on the journey to code. Now, despite the many positives that we can take from the development of the privacy tech community, from the market moving to trying to solve some of the ad tech problems, there is a critical truth, and it's this: we are not going to get to where we need to be simply by market forces, simply through enlightened self-interest, simply through investing our faith in customers voting with their feet, or the trust and confidence argument delivering by itself adjustment to thinking around matters of business purpose. We have to have a regulatory law regime. And that's what we've got within the GDPR, within the CCPA, and other legislative developments. But a regulatory law regime is nothing without enforcement. And in fact, my view is that if we don't have appropriate levels of enforcement, the regulatory regime is potentially counterproductive, and it may have the perverse consequence of reversing progress on data protection, because outside of the privacy and data protection community, there are many people in business, whether the public sector, the private sector, who are saying that without enforcement, they will not adjust. So we need to see fines being implemented at the right kind of level, and we need to see the enforcement activity happening within an appropriate period of time, and I mean quickly. So there's a case for the regulators of data protection to develop new data protection enforcement strategies, to move away from the big campaigns around industry sectors and large economic activities, to discrete, bite-sized questions of legislative non-compliance. If the regulators can move in quick, if they can impose their positions quickly, that, I believe, will have a massive effect, and it will create more momentum to enable the delivery of the outcomes that we're seeking for when we are serving mankind. And here's a point. I actually believe from my experience that the business community wants to see this quicker, faster, more effective enforcement. My final point, though, is that we should support the regulators and the regulatory system. We should give it our assistance, and we should maintain confidence in it, because we need it. So there you go. That's my privacy manifesto for 2020 on Data Protection Day. And I really hope that you join in with the celebrations and have a fantastic time at your workplace with your friends, and just raise a glass to achieving the data protection outcomes that we're all hoping for. So, hope you liked the video. If you did, can you give it a like? And you can subscribe to keep up to date on new content. I've got videos coming out every week, and I've got a really interesting one coming up about children data, and I think you might like that one. So thanks for watching, and have a great day.